Horizon Chance Home versus Reaction. This is Hitler OverSimplified Part 1 by the channel OverSimplified. Yes, it's one of the original videos from OverSimplified. The videos that probably gonna get blocked in Germany because that's what happened to him, I guess. He mentioned that in recent videos. So yeah, Hitler basically. I think he was corporal in World War I, right? I reacted to, I guess, extra credits videos from that, something about the Christmas video, and I remember thinking about like, what the hell, Corporal Hitler or something, because he was there. I guess he hated all this, troops meeting each other and handshaking, all the Christmas thing that happened at the time. He hated that. So that surprised me. So I guess he's gonna go through all that detail in this part, so it's gonna be fun. I'll oversimplify all the video, even though there's not many video from this channel. I guess 7 or 8 video in total. But that's why they are so good, because he puts real quality into his videos. It takes a long time to make it. So yeah, let's do this one. Remember, if you like my reaction, do not forget to like and subscribe. So I know which type of videos to react to more, which channels to react to more. Check out Other Week Sunday. There's a link in the description with all of my videos. Check out the casts for all the playlists I created for different topics like history, with all my historical videos like this, extra credits and things like that. Only Sarcastic Production with all of their mythological legends summarized, even the history and trope talk videos, reaction I did. It's all in that playlist. And CGP Grey, Internet Historian. And yeah, let's do this one.
Look at this baby. So gentle. So innocent. You'd think this child would grow up to become a good man. An honest man. Well, think again. Hitler was born Adolphus Hitler in 1889 in a small town in Austria-Hungary. His father, Alois Schicklgruber, was born out of wedlock, but eventually changed his name to that of his stepfather, becoming Alois Hitler. Alois was a mid-level Austrian customs officer, not really rolling in cash, but certainly rolling in women. He married a rich...
Yeah, so his stepfather, basically, who married his mother, had no idea what he's getting into, and what he's, getting into in the sense of giving his last name to him, because his stepson's son is basically gonna kill his entire family's name. Nobody's gonna name anybody Hitler or even Adolf.
Rich older lady, but then immediately started having affairs, including one with a much younger house servant. A few years later, he left his sick wife to be with his mistress, but since the Catholic Church didn't allow divorce at the time, he couldn't marry her. So he waited for his old wife to die and had a child in the meantime. Then his wife died, so he married his mistress and had another child, but then his new wife got sick, so he employed his much younger cousin Clara to take care of her. Then when his new wife died, he immediately got Clara, his cousin, pregnant, and then married her. In that order, you rock star. Clara and Alois had 3 children together, who all tragically died while in infancy. So when the 4th child, Adolf, came along, Clara spoiled him rotten. The Hitlers had 2 more kids, and the family moved around a few times, meaning Adolf had to attend 5...
So Alois married his cousin, and from that, Adolf Hitler was born. Huh.
Different elementary schools. Adolf's father was strict, quick to anger, and took most of it out on the eldest son until he had enough and ran away at the age of 14, leaving 7-year-old Adolf to do most of the chores and get berated by his father. The result was a difficult relationship with his dad, while he was super attached to his mother, who worried over him and his health excessively. Hitler did well.
That makes sense. The first 3 kids died, and obviously people probably knew at the time, like, incest, I think, like that, because that's the first cousin, right? So incest like that, the children have real issues. So probably she knew at the time, like, 3 kids died because of that, and Adolf, might be the next. So she, worried about him all the time, because, it could be, I guess, you could die in any moment while being, while in the childhood, I guess. That's age of 6, 7, 8, 10, whatever.
Well in school at first. His grades were good and his teachers praised him. He was popular with the other kids and enjoyed gathering them together to play war games. He also loved reading and particularly liked stories about cowboys and Indians. As he grew older though, he started to get into trouble. He was caught smoking once, organized a raid on a local orchard, tormented his pro-Austria religion teacher with symbolic gestures, displaying his allegiance to the idea of united Germanic people under a greater German state in defiance of Habsburg Austria. The usual. All of this enraged Adolf's father, who punished him severely. The area of Austria-Hungary that Hitler lived in was one...
I guess, this is why he probably loved Otto von Bismarck, right? That's why he named his pretty advanced warship Bismarck. because he loved the idea of unification of Germany, basically.
It's part of the German Confederation, and many of the people who lived there considered themselves to be German. Adolf tended to just go against whatever his father said, and since his father was an Austrian public official, Hitler got big into German nationalism. This enraged Adolf's father, who punished him severely. Around this time, a family tragedy struck. His 6-year-old brother, whom he loved a lot, died of measles when Adolf was 10, and was buried in the cemetery just across from their home. Around this time, neighbors reported a change in the young boy. Strange behaviors such as talking to trees and staying up late staring at the stars from the cemetery walls. He lost interest in religion, and his school grades started to decline, which enraged his father, who punished him severely. It also didn't help that he had just...
Yeah, so see, psychology plays everywhere, I guess. Adolf Hitler's, his whole personality can be traced back to his childhood. His father being an a-hole, and basically his whole home environment was effed up, and then one person that he really liked apart from his mother, his brother, died, and that basically pushed him off the edge here. All right, it started to take toll on his mind and his mentality. He was talking to things and things like that, and even then it's a delicate situation. People need to approach that very sensitively. At the time, obviously his father, being father, was punishing him, which actually pushed him even more further.
Just entered high school, and the cool city boys treated him like a rural peasant. He had to repeat a grade and had little interest in most school subjects, instead spending his time reading and drawing, which he was quite good at. One day his father said, "Son, someday you'll be a big balls public official like me." And Adolf replied, "No, father, I'm going to become an artist and soar high above the clouds with the eagles." This enraged his father, but by this time he was an old-ass man, so he just sort of let it go, and then died of a lung hemorrhage. Hitler just about passed his final semester and celebrated in the typical way by getting blackout drunk and wiping his ass with the certificate. However, he didn't take the overall final school exam, instead just dropping out. The now 16-year-old boy was unemployed, without much purpose in life, and for the next 3 years he stayed that way. He spent...
Ooh, I like these things. Anybody who's been watching my reaction videos know this. I like to psychoanalyze things. So here I'm thinking that basically Hitler hates any authority figure, right, because of his father. So anybody tells him to do something certain way, he hates that. Like, you're not gonna tell me what to do. That's probably his mentality by now, the rebellious type of mentality. So obviously he's gonna hate concept like schools and things. So when he graduated, he wiped his ass with that graduate certificate, and he, in the last moment, he just dropped out because of that, because he hated all the concept of that. Without going into detail, do I like this, do I like the subject of school, all that. School as a whole concept, he probably didn't like that much because of his father. Because his resentment towards his father.
Spent most of his time at the opera with his only friend, August Kubizek. Kubizek later wrote his memories of the young Hitler and said he was passionately interested in many things, felt he was in many ways better than others his age, was quick to anger just like his father, and an incredible speaker once he was ranting. When he was 18, he said a very sad...
all the pent-up anger basically made him a great ranter, right? Great speaker. Because he was ranting and ranting, because that's all his childhood, basically. All his pent-up anger was coming out. But I guess, he still cared about art and things like that. But obviously we know he didn't go there.
Goodbye to his mother and went to Vienna to take the entrance exam for art school. He failed. Soon after, he had to return home. His mother was sick and her health was rapidly deteriorating. Hitler stayed by her side, and when she eventually died, the family doctor said he had never seen someone so overwhelmed with grief as Hitler was. Then Hitler returned to Vienna, still hoping to find a career in the arts, but he never did. Instead, without parental support, Hitler ended up on the streets. Now in his early 20s, he spent a few rough years living in and out of homeless shelters, making what little he could from selling postcards he painted. It's hard to pinpoint exactly when and how Hitler's extreme ideological beliefs formed, but his time in Vienna would have certainly played a role. Anti-Semitism was widespread in the city. The mayor...
So it's Vienna's fault, apparently. Imagine if one of the art schools just would have taken pity on the guy, for any reason, and actually enlisted him into the college or something in art. The whole thing could have been avoided, right? I mean, this is layers to this. There is no one event that led to this, but basically his childhood was so fucked up that he only liked probably 2 people in his life, his mother and his brother. The brother died, and that pushed him at the edge. But he was still clinging to the cliff, basically. Then he failed his art exam. It hurt, but still he's there. And then his mother died, the last person that could have cared. He cared about anyone that was the last person. and he's still getting rejected in Vienna for the art, so he has nothing left. His father being Austrian official, that basically drove him to be more patriotic toward Germany, and we know how his all hatred, pent up anger, and now love for the Germany is gonna push him to do what he gonna do. He's gonna enlist in World War I, obviously, become corporal or something, and from there his path is basically set.
Whom Hitler supported, was an outspoken anti-Semite. There were many right-wing anti-Semitic newsletters, which Hitler took a keen interest in. He bought into the conspiracy theories and became a firm believer in the idea that there are many races in constant struggle with one another, the purest of which were the German Aryan people, and the worst of which, he believed, were Jews. Since Austria-Hungary was a multi-ethnic empire full of lesser races, Hitler wasn't a fan. So when he was 24, he moved to Munich in Germany to avoid doing military service, and for one more year he was a drifter on the streets, until something huge happened. In 1914, long-standing tensions in Europe erupted into the First World War. Crowds across Europe celebrated the news. Within days, Hitler volunteered for the German army. The war gave him a purpose in life. His fellow soldiers gave him friendship and brotherhood. Despite the horrors of war, Hitler considered it to be the best time of his life. He was reportedly a brave...
Wait a minute, why does he look like Hugh Laurie? I think that's the House, Dr. House. At first I thought, wait a minute, is he taking the photo from some kind of a movie he did? But no, this is real photo of Adolf Hitler, is that it? Damn.
The horrors of war, Hitler considered it to be the best time of his life. He was reportedly a brave soldier and was awarded...
How fucked up your life have to be that you like the war because that's the best feeling you ever had? I mean, that's just effed up.
Iron Cross, first class. He was also very lucky and had many close encounters with death. His luck ran out in 1916, however, when an artillery shell injured his leg. He went back to Germany to recover and was outraged to find a general apathetic anti-war attitude among the exhausted and hungry German populace. With the war turning against Germany, he returned to the front lines, but was temporarily blinded by a British gas attack in 1918. A month later, still recovering in hospital, Hitler learned of Germany's defeat and surrender. The terms of the peace treaty were tough on Germany. It had to pay a lot of money and lose a lot of soldiers. These conditions weakened Germany and humiliated the German people. Europe's borders changed after the war too. New countries were formed out of Russia's lost territory, Austria-Hungary was dissolved, and there was one big new country splitting Germany into two. Hitler, seeing the country he loved humiliated like this, said that hatred grew in him for those responsible, by which he meant communists and Jews, who he believed had stabbed Germany in the back by spreading dissent and anti-war propaganda back home.
Of course, everybody blames Jews, right? That's the fucking... So basically, every effed up guy of the history, why is it that all of their, behavior and how they were, reacting can be traced back to their childhood? This is really strong thing, like, when, kids are born and how you take care of them, that is extremely important, right? This is why I think, there should be, I don't know, some kind of a, thing or organization or something that looks after things like that, like how kids are being treated and how kids are growing up in which kind of environment. It might feel less free and democratic, I understand that, but there is a fine line between way too free and way too constrict and that kind of thing. So we have to find that line. Too much free just makes it Wild West, basically, and that just breeds effed upness. I mean, we have to be free enough, but at the same time recognize certain things, like certain organization or something that looks after things like that, like how kids are being treated and things like that, because fucked up childhood is the one thing that is pretty common between peoples like Hitler and all the other. Right, people, that was Hitler OverSimplified Part 1 by the channel OverSimplified. If you like my Rick Sunday, like and subscribe. Check out the Rick Sunday, there's a link in the description. Check out the cards, we'll play, check out the cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.